Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Creating Wellness from Within. Today, I will be chatting with Rebecca Sebastian, and we're going to be talking all about the Midwest Yoga Conference coming up October 26th in West Des Moines, Iowa. You are listening to Creating Wellness from Within, a podcast devoted to helping you live your best life through self care and wellness. In each episode, we strive to offer you actionable advice and tools to help you on your journey towards greater personal wellness. I am your host, Amy Zellmer. I am editor in chief of Midwest Yoga Magazine and author of the Chair Yoga Pocket Guide. I am passionate about yoga, wellness, photography, travel, and all things glittery. You can learn more about me at creatingwellnessfromwithin.com. Today, I am joined by Rebecca Sebastian, and she is a longtime yoga teacher, an 11-year yoga therapist, co-founder of a yoga nonprofit, is the founder and owner of an accessible and inclusivity-focused yoga studio and apothecary in Davenport, Iowa, called Sunlight Yoga and Apothecary, and is host of the podcast Working in Yoga. She is a passionate writer on yoga and participates and loves all things yoga and the yoga industry. She believes that through talking to each other, writing, and communication, we can all lift each other up and share what lights us up with the world. If you want to get nerdy about the yoga and wellness industry, chat about the best tea blends, and deconstruct everything we thought we knew, she is your human. Welcome, Rebecca. So happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Amy. It's so funny when you hear people read your bio. I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, that
I
is
do all
me.
that. I know.
Hey.
Well, the one thing that's not on your bio, I guess, is that you graciously have been helping me plan this October conference in West Des
Woo.
Moines. And I was so thrilled when you said you'd be willing to help me. You previously had done a Iowa conference. Was that 2022?
Yeah, we were the first conference out after COVID, I think in the country, honestly, and it was crazy.
Yeah, and that was the first yoga conference I attended as a magazine owner. So that was really exciting. Um, and was that in Davenport? Yeah, yeah,
It,
Quad
it
Cities.
was, yep,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes. So I was very excited when you agreed to help me with the Iowa conference because, I mean, these are your people. Um,
We're gonna have so much fun, Amy. Like honestly, I'm really excited about this. I'm excited for us to like get together. My favorite thing about conferences is that I get to talk to other people who are just as passionate about yoga as I am.
mhm.
Like it's just the best part is like you get to see your friends. Like with your little intro there, I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring Amy something glittery when I see her in Des Moines in
Aw.
October.
Yes. And, I've shared a lot that I was a professional photographer for over 20 years before taking over the magazine. And my favorite, every January, we had our professional photographers conference, and it kind of moved each year. It was in a different city in the US. And it was like Christmas, right? You get to reconvene, or I guess like a big class reunion is what it felt like. You get to
Yeah.
reconvene with all of your photography friends once a year. And that's how I feel about yoga conferences is
Yeah.
even if you don't know anybody. And let's talk about that for a moment. Not where I was going with this, but I think it's an important topic because a lot of us are introverts. And
Yes.
myself included.
Yes.
Um, and it can be really intimidating to go to a conference when you don't know anybody. Like if this is your
Yeah.
first conference or a new city, it can be really intimidating. And so let's talk about that for a moment.
Okay, so I am also an introvert, which I think people are surprised at because I'm fairly chatty when you get to know me, but I definitely am that person who needs like the solo time.
Hmm.
But okay, so here's the thing that I think we know about yoga people. There's two things that we know about yoga teachers for sure. One is they're lonely, and two, they're like way more passionate about yoga than you ever thought. Like, especially newer teachers, when you get to talk to them and you ask them one question about yoga, and then like 35 minutes later, they're like, no, I'm telling you, it will change your life. Like, imagine a whole room of those people who are like, you're just going, I know it changed my life. I know, I love it too. Oh my God, I do this thing. That's so cool. Like, it is really fun. I find it really fun because I'm proud to be one of us, people in the
Yeah.
industry. Like, I find it really fun to go to conferences and just see all the cool stuff that everybody is doing. Like, that's the best. Like, this Midwest conference that we're having in Iowa, on October 26th in West Des Moines, which I know you said, but I'm going to plug it too. But like, okay, so like Colby Sanders is going to be a keynote, and then you're going to have like Mona Flynn coming in, and then you're going to have Makeda coming in, and like even the keynotes are worth listening to, like all these cool people who are doing all this amazing work in the industry. And then, you know what introverts love talking about? Deep discussions. Like, you're in, babe. We're not talking about the weather here. We're going to talk about the stuff. I love it.
Yeah. And I feel like I noticed at the Minnesota conference, a lot of people came, didn't know anyone, and left with, you know, 10
Friends.
new best friends.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that's the thing I love about the yoga community is I feel everybody's so welcoming. And, you know, if you're sitting there in the corner all by yourself and somebody puts their mat down next to you, they're probably going to start chatting to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, don't feel, don't let that hold you back. And I know I can get in my head. I hate going to things where I don't know anybody. I hate it. It feels like so scary to me. And I literally have sat in my car, like giving myself a pep talk before going into a networking meeting or something where I don't know anyone. And then like I get in there and I make 10 new friends and I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's just you get in your own head before you go in. So
Yeah, I think that's so normal, like having that worry of, am I going to find somebody to talk to? That kind of thing. But, you know, it's funny that we're having this conversation because I'm writing one of the episodes of my podcast right now, and it is about the things that I think we get right. And I think the thing we get right as a yoga community is the word community. Like, we get it in a way that I think a lot of other
yeah.
professions don't get it. Like, we understand that connection with other people is something so meaningful. From like that first yoga class where the person who sat next to you was like, how was your first class? Let me tell you what your next class is going to be. I'll meet you for a smoothie afterwards. Like, we get that so right.
Yeah. And one thing I don't think we've publicized much, and so I need to get better about talking about this. Friday night before the conference for
Yes.
anyone
Yes.
that's going to be, because I know some people are traveling, so they'll probably get in Friday night. People who are local, we're going to have a meet and greet at the hotel on Friday evening. So you know, like no pressure, just show up and mingle and get to meet some of your fellow attendees. And I'm really excited for that. I haven't done that at a conference yet. So this will sort of be like, you know, like an experiment of how it goes. But I think it's going to be okay. So one of the reasons I picked the Drury Inn, one, I love Drury Inns, but because we can have like, what do you call that? The host location? Is that what it's called? Where
Yeah.
we're all, you know, most of us are staying in the same location. And so, you know, your friends might be in a different room and you can go hang out for the evening too and have, you know,
Yeah.
just some girl time or whatever. I think having it at a hotel lends itself to a different level of intimacy for the conference attendees.
I think so too. So I've been to other yoga conferences that were set up that way too. The IOIT, the International Association of Yoga Therapists, their conference is always set up that way where we're all at the same hotel and you get a room. And I mean, I remember, you know, being so surprised. Like, I get my room and then I'm like 2 rooms away from like my friend Sherry. And then on the other side is my friend Pamela. And we're like, how'd we all end up in this, 600-room hotel, like all
Yeah.
right together? And it is just fun. Like, you've got somebody to walk to the conference with. You're going to have those, like, the downloading kind of discussions after you've just learned
Mhm.
something new and then you just want to talk about it. You're like, oh my gosh, I just had this amazing workshop with, whomever. I want to talk about it with somebody else who was there. And then on your way to lunch, you're going to chat with those people or you're going to chat with everybody else who learned the same thing that you did. It's really like so much fun to kind of dive deep into that sort of yoga experience over the weekend. It is what teach it for yoga teachers. It is that re-experiencing of what we had during teacher training, which is that like deep camaraderie and community as we learn together.
Mhm. And then Saturday is the big day of the
Yep.
conference. But then Saturday evening after the conference, we're also going to have like a little meet and greet, like pajama happy hour or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
haven't coined a name for it quite yet, but just for anyone who is staying again, because if you're traveling, maybe you don't want to leave Saturday, you want to leave Sunday morning. So we're just going to have another informal get together on Saturday evening as well after dinner. So if you're staying at the Drury Inn, so okay, let me talk about Drury Inn and why I love
Yes.
Drury Inn. This is not a sponsored commercial. I just love them. So Drury Inns I discovered through a good friend of mine. She takes her dad to Texas every year. So she drives down and then drives up, and there's a Drury Inn in the middle, and that's where they stay. And they're a little bit spendier, than like, I don't know, Motel 6, obviously. But
Sure.
um they include, you get a free happy hour in the evening, and it includes hot food and two
Ooh.
beverages if you partake. Two or three beverages. And the hot food is what I love because I'm gluten free. They put like the pasta in one bin, the chicken in one bin, the sauce in another bin. So like if you're gluten free, like I don't eat the pasta, so I can just grab the chicken and the veggies and the sauce. But then you also get a hot breakfast in the morning as well. So for the extra price, I have found it to be so worth it to not have to leave the hotel to go find dinner or breakfast.
Yeah.
Um, and our block rate is, I believe, a king is 125 and a double queen is 135. So super
Oh,
affordable. And also
yeah.
that includes your dinner and breakfasts. So wanted to make sure attendees know that. And that's, another oh, and also just, we want to encourage you to stay there, one, because you're close, you're with everybody in community, but also that helps us keep our costs down. That's why we get a really good rate for using the facility. So just it's a win-win-win for everybody involved.
I love when the Midwest gets content like this, gets conferences, because it's something that in the yoga space I think doesn't happen enough. Now, you and I met at my conference in 2022, but I feel like we became friends at the Driftless Yoga Conference in Decorah, Iowa, because
Mhm.
we got to like sit and really chat for a nice long
Yep.
time there. And I just love it when we get these events that are happening in the Midwest too, because you think
Yeah.
of yoga, you're thinking Colorado, you think New York City, you're going to think definitely California, maybe Austin, Texas. But here we are in the upper Midwest having our own little yoga conference. And it's a good reminder that there are people here doing this work too, who are passionate about yoga and passionate and love teaching. And your theme, can we talk about the theme that you have for this
Yes,
year too?
please.
Like the theme inclusion, like come on now, it's going to be so good. Like content like this doesn't often land in the Midwest, and I just
Mhm.
love that it's here.
Mhm. Yeah.
So talk about the theme, Amy.
Yes. So our theme is inclusion. Um, and I was just blown away by the speaker applications that came through. And, it's always so sad when you have to turn applicants away because you can't fit everybody into a day. But that's a good problem to have. But you alluded to our keynotes earlier, And so I'm doing the conference a little different. We have three keynotes to start the day off. Khalees Sanders will
Woo!
be, yeah, it will
I
be,
love her so much.
yes. She'll be kicking off the conference with her talk, Unraveling the Messy Middle of Inclusion in Yoga Spaces. So super thrilled to have Khalees there. Mona Flynn will be talking about trauma sensitive yoga for new arrivals. And I learned that new arrivals is the new term for immigrants. Um, and so I'm very excited. She herself is an immigrant. She's Syrian. And so very thrilled to have her. I know you know her through the Yoga
True.
Therapy Network.
Yep.
And so she's traveling from North Carolina to come speak at our conference. Oh, I forgot. Khalees is a fellow Iowan.
Yes.
She's one of your friends in Iowa. And then our third keynote is Makeda Norris, who is from here in Minneapolis. And her talk is Black Women, Yoga, and Spirituality. So I just feel like these three keynotes, we have this incredible opportunity to, lift up their voices and have them talk about inclusion from their perspective in the yoga spaces. And I mean, I can't think of a better way to start a conference. Can you?
No, honestly, I can't. And what I love about this is that we've given everybody the opportunity to hear these keynotes versus like, sometimes you go to conferences and especially with like,
You have to
maybe you have to
pick.
choose
Mm-hmm.
one versus another and you're like, oh, I really want to go to both, but I've only got to, especially we chose to do this in a day versus 2 days. So really you're making tight decisions. Like that
Yes.
everybody gets the opportunity to go listen to Mona and Khalees and Makeda all speak and talk about what they're amazing at and what they know and share it with us. Like I love that we all get to experience that together as a group before we go into the like picking your track thing. Like I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So after the three keynotes are in the morning, and then we're breaking for lunch. And something we're trying is we're going to do a box lunch. So that nobody has to leave. Everybody can stay on site and, again, be in community, right? And we have a vegetarian option, or I'm sorry, a vegan option, a gluten-free option, and then several standard options for our box lunches. So very excited to give this a whirl and have lunch right on site for everybody.
Okay, so what happens then in the afternoon? So in the afternoon, we've got teachers. So I'm teaching in the afternoon.
Mhm.
Zaria Rochester, who's going to be on the cover of your magazine, looking gorgeous. She's teaching in the afternoon. Like, talk to us about the afternoon stuff.
Mhm. So in the afternoon, so during lunch, we're going to switch over the rooms and we'll go from having one room to two rooms. So we'll have two tracks in the afternoon. One track is includes health, wellness, and business, and that is a lecture track. And then the other track will be a movement and yoga track. Um, so you are kicking off the health and wellness track with including your wellness in your business is your topic. And Carmita Smiles will be kicking off the movement track with Tai Chi for balance. And I know it gets that's where it gets difficult, right? To pick you have to
Yeah.
pick a class. So um the afternoon will be all breakout sessions. So then we move into Healing Body Image as Instructors by Lara Days and Prana Vayus Exploration with Julia Adriani. I believe she's also a fellow yoga therapy, correct?
She's not a yoga
No.
therapist, but she's actually a violinist. She's a classical violinist
Ooh,
by
I
day.
just learned a new
I
fun
love
fact.
Yeah, Julie's awesome. She's from the Cedar Falls area.
And then
And yeah.
And then we'll move into mindfulness for self-empowerment with Stephanie Capinelli, and somatics, finding serum sacum asanum. I just murdered that. Can you do that more
Right.
justice for me, Rebecca? With Pam
Somatics.
Steineck.
Sukham asanam.
Thank
Serum
you.
sukham asanam.
Um,
Pam, I forgot Pam
yes.
was coming. Yeah.
Yes. And then closing out the day, we have Ethics, Autonomy, and Inclusion in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra with Mandy King. And then Cosmic Inclusion, Yoga and Sound Healing with Zaria Rochester. So,
I
so
could not
excited.
choose on those. I love both
I
those humans so
know.
much.
Tough choices need to be made. But it's, whichever class you end up in, it's going to be where you need to be. And
Yeah.
I know at the Minnesota conference, I know several people tried to get into a class and it was full. And so they took the other one and they're like, it was so amazing. Like, it's not the one I would have
Yeah.
ever picked, but I'm so glad I went. And so, that's what happens a lot of times. So you can't go wrong with any of these sessions. So,
Yeah, I think I'm glad you brought that up because honestly, I do think that's something that happens. It's sort of like, you ever been invited to an event and you're just like, oh, I don't want to go, but then you have the best time when you get there. It's kind of like the same thing. Like if you don't get the class that you want to, but then you get the other class and it's just amazing and it was just what you needed at that time and you had no idea. You didn't even know.
yep. Mm-hmm. And then I want to make sure we mention you can get CEUs. So
Yes.
all of the classes are eligible for Yoga Alliance CEUs. So I believe that would be a total of 7 that you could get. And I think 3 of them are also IYT eligible
Yeah,
credits.
for
So
sure. Mona, me, and Pam, I think would be all
yeah,
IOT.
yes, that sounds
Yeah.
right. So if you're an IYT, you can also be getting some credits. So I know that that's, really valuable for folks to
Yeah.
continue their certification. So wanted to make sure we pointed that out. Yeah, anything to add on any of the speakers?
I mean, I just have a real big crush on your lineup here.
I do
like,
too. Like, it's amazing.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're lucky to have such, first of all, Mona coming from North Carolina is incredible. And then all the talent we have from the Midwest coming to teach is just like the super
Mm-hmm.
coolest. Sometimes when I am in conference spaces or Zoom meetings with people who are in yoga from like the coasts or maybe even like Canada or the UK, and they're going like, what is happening with you guys in the Midwest? You have some really interesting stuff going on here. And I'm like, yeah, we do. And nobody sees us coming. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks we're not exciting, but like we've got a lot of good stuff coming up here.
Yeah, let me go through this again. So Khalees is from Iowa. Mona is again from North Carolina. Makeda is in Minneapolis. Rebecca, you're in Iowa. Carmita is coming from Ohio. Lara is from Texas, but she's originally from the Des Moines area. Julia is Iowa.
Yep.
Stephanie is a Michigander, but she now lives in New York, but she is originally from Michigan. Pam is Iowa, Mandy, Iowa, and so is Zaria. So,
Yeah.
like, how awesome is this lineup of
Yeah.
Midwesterners?
Yeah. Come see us. Come hang out. We're like Iowa people were very friendly, like friendly in a way that's probably weird.
Friendly
We're
folk.
very, very friendly people. We're definitely always going to be happy you come.
Yeah. And I just, like I said, we're going to have a meet and greet Friday evening. And then Saturday evening, we'll have some sort of informal get together as well. And then, y'all can head home Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about is just like the Midwest. So Des Moines is so conveniently located in the Midwest. So it's what, like maybe a 4-hour drive from Chicago,
Yep.
Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha. like it's just so convenient to come from a lot of the other states. I believe even Indiana, Ohio, they're still only like 6 hours. So it's a
Yeah.
very doable, you know, do it on Friday, get there, spend the night, and then leave Sunday morning. What a great weekend.
Yeah.
Visit the
I'm looking
heartland.
I know. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me this because I'm just going to interview you for a second.
Alrighty then.
No, but I want to talk a little bit about like so you're doing this conference for us in Iowa. You've done a conference in Minnesota before. Like
Mhm.
tell me what you love about conferences because there's so much work. I think a lot of people don't
Uh,
realize how much work we're doing on our end.
ton of
So
work.
I feel
Yeah.
like we want to tell people what our payout is, like why we love it. Because I'm like also a serial event planner, as you know.
Yeah. So, the reason I started first, I started with the Minnesota one, and then I knew I wanted to expand to throughout the Midwest. Um, is I just see a need for it. There are a lot of yoga festivals, and I think maybe we can talk about that for a moment. What's the difference between a festival and a conference? Festivals typically are outdoor, not always, but
Yeah.
90% of the time they're outdoor. There's usually like a food and a music element, and there's a lot of things going on at the same time. And it's more of a celebration. Excuse me, I swallowed wrong. It's more of a celebration, um, and just doing movement and practices, where a conference is more, they're indoor. They're usually in a hotel or some sort of conference center, which I know sounds stuffy and gross, but they're not. Um, and it's about education. It's getting
Yeah.
training. Festivals, you typically don't get CEUs because you're not there. There has to be an educational component to offer a CEU. Where the conference is all about education. We want to help you either grow your personal practice or your business, like your studio or your teacher training. Or maybe it inspires you to take your teacher training. So I think that's the biggest distinction between the two. Um, and so I saw a huge need. Like, I have Googled the heck out of yoga conferences, and I can't hardly find any.
Yeah.
If you know of some, send them my way. There's lots and lots and lots of festivals, which is fantastic. But there is a huge need for conferences and more education that's not specifically a teacher training, right? Um, and so again, getting those continuing education credits. Yes, you can do a lot of that stuff online, but like we talked about earlier, like gathering in community, there's such power in that.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, let's be real, it's an excuse to get away from your family for a day or two. Some of us need that. Um, and I don't know. I saw a huge need for it, and that's why I decided to start doing these. And my goal is to grow them throughout the Midwest. And I don't know, like I've toyed with the idea of like, does it move from state to state every year, or do we just do like a couple? Like right now I've got Minnesota and Iowa. Do we add in like two more, and then have like, so there every quarter there's a conference somewhere in the Midwest? Like, I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but that's what we're figuring out. So love to hear from all of you what your thoughts are on that. Like, where would you like to see a conference? So Allison Russell had owned the Yoga Teacher Conf, which I purchased at the beginning of this year, 24, um, in hopes of continuing to grow. That was her vision too, was to offer conferences. And I'm not strictly looking just for teachers. I want people with their own personal practice who want to learn more. Um, and so, she did a lot of them in Colorado. That was her home base,
Yeah.
um, which is technically not Midwest, but it's Midwest adjacent. It's, right next to the
I
Dakotas
agree.
and Nebraska.
I
I love Colorado. I always look for an excuse to go there. So, what does it look like? I don't know quite yet, but that's where I'd love to hear feedback from other folks on where they'd like to see conferences, what they'd like to learn at conferences. That, honestly, it's why I'm so excited about this inclusion theme, because the lineup is just so beautiful. And Minnesota is also a fantastic conference, but it has such a different feel. This one just feels so much different. This one feels really intimate with that inclusion theme. And
yeah.
also I want to add, we only have room for 75 tickets total. So,
Yeah.
early bird ends the end of this week. So if you're listening to this in the future, early bird ends like August 1st. So 175 for your ticket. So be sure to get registered to take advantage of that early bird price. Otherwise, ticket sales go right up to the week before. What would that be, like October 20th?
Yeah.
At 199. So, just grab your ticket, get your early bird ticket, get your ticket soon. Because, like I said, I think we've sold like 15 tickets. So, quick math, what's that, 60 available?
Yeah.
That's not a ton of tickets. And, I
No.
struggled with, did I want to use this venue that I can only have that many attendees, but I'm like, you know what? I think it's going to be beautiful. The people who are meant to be there will be there, and it's just going to feel, again, intimate, small and intimate.
I also think that's kind of neat in a way to have a smaller group, just
Mm-hmm.
because then you also get the opportunity to meet more people at the conference. You can feel like it's easier to make friends when you're in a smaller, more intimate group setting versus like those big settings where, I mean, we've all been in conferences with 2, 3, 500 people. I certainly
Yeah.
have. And like you have like that one bestie that you hook up with, and then the
Yes.
two of you are doing those things the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But with like a group of 75, you can have those people that you know or that you meet hook up with right away, and then have a whole new group of people that you meet here or there. My favorite thing, so Zaria, who is teaching at the conference in October, she just went to the IOAT's in yoga therapy conference this past summer, and I didn't get the opportunity to go. And the fact she was she was like live texting me from there, like,
I
oh
love
my
it.
god, Chris, here's me and Christine, and oh, here's me and Matthew, and here's like they all say hi. Like you can have those like little intimate experiences in a conference of 75 people. Like make
Mm-hmm.
friends. It's the hardest and best thing about being an adult. Like, right? Like how many times,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like it's hard to make friends as an adult,
Yes.
especially if you're super passionate about something as niche as yoga. Like yoga friends are the best.
Agreed. Agreed. And, at 75 people, I'm willing to try doing a boxed lunch. It feels
Yeah.
doable. Where Minnesota is about 150 people. Um, and that feels overwhelming to try and do a box lunch.
Yeah.
So, because I get requests for it each year, and it's like, it's a lot of coordination.
I was gonna say, yeah, the admins. I think people don't understand the like admin
Yeah,
side of something like
no,
that is difficult. Yeah,
yeah,
to
yeah.
execute that, make sure everybody gets the correct lunch. Like
So,
that the vegans have the vegan food and all
yes.
that. Yeah,
So, with that said, I also want to make sure if anyone listening has already registered, or if you do register, you should get a welcome email. It's not automated. I have to manually go and put you in there, but you should get a welcome email within 24 hours. And in that welcome email, one is all your information, but two, you're going to have the link to book a hotel room if you need a hotel room at the Drury. And three, the really important one, the link to choose your box lunch.
yeah,
And so just make sure, if these love to go to spam. So if you don't see that email in 24 hours, definitely dig it out of your junk or spam folder.
Ooh, and if you are a studio and you're training people and you're within driving distance, I feel like you should take your trainees. And not just because I'm taking my trainees, which
Mm-hmm.
I am, but like you should like again, this is like a really fun part of our industry. It's the thing we are just nailing and getting right. Like come show them.
Mm-hmm.
Come show them. And like maybe you've not had that experience yet. That's something that I think I was not taught when I was coming up as a yoga teacher, that this choice to have connections outside your very immediate yoga community would be so nourishing. Like, and my yoga community is incredibly competitive and sometimes not very friendly. And so I was very nervous to go elsewhere to like meet new people. And I can't tell you how much of a like healing balm that is every time I go and I get to go to a conference and I get to meet new people and make friends. And it's just so nice. Bring
Mm-hmm.
your trainees, let them have that
Or your
experience too.
staff,
So,
your
or
instructors.
your staff. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Like, so they can learn what it is in the like bigger yoga community, because again I was the first person really in my area to start really playing on that sort of like bigger level of going places. Maybe only two other people of everybody in my area were like going to do conferences, and I wish somebody would have told me earlier how much more enjoyable that made my experience within the industry, my experience with my yoga practice. Like, oh my gosh, go take classes from a teacher who you would never have the opportunity to go to
Mm-hmm.
normally.
Yeah.
Like, go do that.
Yeah. And I also have, if you buy 3 or more tickets, you get 25% off. So that's
Nice.
just a little incentive for you to bring your instructors or your trainees. Because I find value in that. What a great perk to offer your instructors, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's one of the things I'm offering. So I'm having people sign up for my 300-hour training that starts in 2025. But if they early bird with me, I'm going to give them a ticket to the conference. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll be texting you again, Amy. Amy, I need more tickets.
Yeah. I love that though. What a great idea. So please steal, borrow,
Yeah,
share
steal it.
Rebecca's idea.
Absolutely.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for everything, for helping me. You're my emotional support human, all things Iowa Yoga Conference. And just for all the help you're doing, helping me plan this. You're also a sponsor of the conference. Your Working in Yoga podcast is a sponsor. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and side note, if anyone is interested in being a sponsor, we still have sponsorship opportunities available. Just reach out to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
so many good things happening here with the conference in the Midwest. Um, Thank you for being here and helping me do this special conference preview podcast.
Thank
Something a
you for
little
having
different.
me.
Yeah. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And be sure to head to midwestyogaconference.com and see all the details and get registered.